everyone, welcome to the Up and Down matches. I am Wolf, with me is Calder. We had some really exciting results yesterday. A little bit surprising how well Sungduri did. He got a little bit lucky in some of his games, but really good play overall.
Yep.
And again today we've got a great lineup of players.
Very good performance yesterday by Sungduri. He did a great job there and then advanced together with the Super to the WCS Premier League.
Yes. PL,
like,
whatever you want to call it.
I like code S stuck in my head. I'm like, wait a second, no, we're past that. Yeah, he's going to advance to the WCS Premier League, and today, of course, we have the next round of the Up and Downs. We have Group B, and we have a couple of really interesting players today.
Yeah, we really do. Life being, I think, the big favorite in the group. Everybody's looking at him, wondering, is he going to get out today? Is he going to end up falling down the Challenger League yet again? He hasn't been as dominant as before. I wouldn't say he's struggling because he's still playing against the best players in the world here in Korea, but he has not looked dominant in a while.
Life is one of the players that we have today. We also have Su, we have Hero for CG Enters, and of course we then later on also have Bang, who starts for MVP, and the prime player Byan. So a really nice lineup, 5 players in total once again, and we are going to find out which 2 of them will be able to go to the Premier League.
Yeah, Bang could be a really surprising player in this group. I'm looking forward to seeing if he's going to show some unexpected strategies. He's really the underdog of the group, I feel. Byan as well, you know, he has not been on top of his game for a while. Used to be one of the strongest players of the Prime team, and I'm hoping that he can at least give a good showing today, because in the past few times we've seen him, he hasn't looked quite so strong.
Well, here we have the results from yesterday. Songduri and Super, they didn't have to play their last match. It wouldn't have changed anything in the standings. The Zerg player for CG Enters and the MVP Protoss advanced to the Premier League. And Yoda, Savage and Flying, they will have to play in the Challenger League next season.
Yep. That's very true. A very clear-cut group there at the end of the day. Yeah. Flying having a really bad time, and Savage as well.
Especially Flying, like, very disappointing performance yesterday. With the 1-3 in the group, I don't think that a lot of people expected that. Super, of course, is once again a force in the Protoss versus Terran. But yeah, expected a little bit more from Flying going into the group.
Yeah, and here are today's players. Of course, we talked about them already earlier. Life and Su being our Zergs, Bang and Byan being the Terrans, and Hero being the lone Protoss in the group.
Yeah, and with Hero we have a really strong Protoss player in the group at that, so he could definitely get out of the group today, and I think he's one of the favorite players to do so. On the other hand, Life and Su, the 2 heavy hitters for the Zerg, they will face off against each other in our first game today. Keep in mind that all these matches are best of ones. This is a round-robin system that we play in the Up and Downs here at the GSL, and it's going to be quite interesting to see who will get out today. I feel like I think the favorites ones are most likely going to be Life and Hero.
Yeah, for sure. Just logging into my PC here. We can get into the game, and you know, I'm not so sure about Life's chances today. I was feeling a lot better for him in the Challenger League. He ended up almost getting through to the Premier League, but he lost to his ZVZ against Haiva. Kind of a wacky series, got a little bit unlucky.
Yeah, you can say that twice. It's like Life in that series really got very unlucky, or let's say just Haiva got very lucky on the other end. But Haiva gets through, so results in the end, that's what counts. And Life, he has to prove today that he is still in tip-top shape and can participate in the Premier League. And it's always very annoying if you have to prove that by going through the Up and Downs, but that's what he has to accomplish today.
Yeah, that's what he has to do. He does not want to start in the Challenger League next season. Su, somebody who's really, really strong. Never underestimate this Zerg. He will surprise you. He has really great builds. I would say that Life is definitely the favorite in this ZVZ, but he has gotten unlucky in the past.
Yeah, he definitely did. And I'm very interested to see who exactly, or how exactly Su is starting things off today. I feel if you don't really vote for Life to get out of the group today, then Su is probably your second best bet. He's a very, very strong opponent to face. And I'm really interested because the first match is between 2 of the best players in the group, so it kind of sets the pace a little bit.
That's a very good point. Both of these 2 players are the ones who were in the Premier League before. The rest of them just coming up from the Challenger League, not able to get into the Premier League in the first place. Beyond, of course, being a very special case, being seeded, but these 2 players are the ones who fell down, tried their luck at the Challenger League, weren't able to do it, and they are the top-level players here in this group for sure.
I think if you have to go for a top 3, you would probably name Life, Su, and also Hero. But then you have Byan as well, a huge fan favorite, has a lot of fans, a regular streamer, a player who has really done well in the past. Maybe in Heart of the Swarm not that successful just yet, but we're going to find out who advances. We're starting off in our first game here. It is going to be a Zerg versus Zerg, so let's jump right into the match on Star Station here at the WCS Challenger League. Start Your Life versus ASK T1 Su, brought to you by Cullen Wolf. And starting to the top left, we have the Startail Zerg player. It is
Startail Life.
one of the few winners of the Triple Crown. Was able to win major tournaments on 3 continents. Europe, America, and also of course within Asia. And he's up against his opponent for SKT1, starting to the bottom right of Star Station. Cross positioned it is.
SK Telecom T1 Su.
Su is a very intelligent player. My initial impressions of him is that he got a lot of build order wins. He was very clever. He used a lot of planning. But as I've watched him kind of develop as a player, I feel like his macro game has gotten much better. He switched over to Starcraft 2 much later than some of the other players, and of course much later than Life playing Starcraft 2. So he doesn't have as much experience, but he has been improving a lot.
Yeah, he definitely has, and he's one of those players who could definitely shake this group up a little bit. Life, of course, is one of the huge favorites to get out of the group, at least if you look at his past performance. I don't really think that he's really looking all that shaky these days, but he looks a little bit more human than usual, and that's very unusual for Life.
Yeah, he usually looks like an awesome robot. Here's again our zoom out. I really like we can see both the hatchery and the natural.
Yeah, I really love the new features that Blizzard has implemented in the user interface and the observer UI. That really helps quite a lot. And as you can see in the game itself, we have both players currently with exactly the same builds, going for the hatch first and then changing it up into the pool.
Yeah.
And in the Zerg vs Zerg, just to give you a few statistics to have a bit of background here, if you look at Live ZVZ in Heart of the Swarm, always focusing on the offline matches of course, he has played in total 35 maps and he won 60% of them. He lost in the past actually quite a lot of his CVZ maps, and Bomber himself, a teammate of Live, said that he thinks that Live CVZ these days is quite shaky. If you go down the last 5 best of 3s that Live played in this matchup, he actually lost 4 of them. He lost to Haiva, he lost to Sulky, he lost to Kangho, and he also lost to TLO. The only Zerg player that he defeated in a best of 3 recently was Crazy. So maybe now he can turn things around, but what Bomber said, that Life is a little bit shaky in the mirror matchup, seems to be true.
Yeah, Bomber is obviously a really good mentor, of course, for some of his teammates, and he really knows what's going on in the house. You know, his word is basically the law.
Yeah, and as we have Suno on screen, let's talk a little bit about him. 26 maps played in Zerg vs Zerg offline in Heart of the Swarm, and he won exactly 13 of them. That leaves him with a 50% win ratio. So Live still, after all these losses, a little bit stronger in the matchup, statistically speaking. But today it comes down to a single map, and either player is able to take that.
Yeah, very true. Speed started here very quickly for Life in comparison to Su, who's going for a more queen-oriented build, going for the minerals instead. In Zerg vs Zerg, sometimes you have this where somebody just tries to get those queens out, block the ramp, sometimes make spine crawlers to defend. And a good scout here by Su, at least a good attempt. And you know what? He actually gets in the main here, and he will see the gas. This is really important.
Yep, he gets the gas, and Life was actually trying to take down the Zergling with one of his drones as well, trying to block it a little bit and maybe just take down the last 5 hit points. Didn't really work out too well for him, but at least Su gets the scout information, really important for him. What really impressed me about Life in general in his games against Haiva was that he always had very good builds. They were very technical, and they were kind of countering what Haiva was trying to do there. In both of the games that he lost, Life basically got quite unlucky, especially in the first one. By accident, he attacked the rocks instead of just attacking his opponent's units, and that might have cost him the game in the end. But the build itself was really well thought out, and I really liked that a lot. But now that he's scouted, Su is reacting, and he's not taking any chances. We have a double queen block already at the bottom of the ramp, now enforced with the evolution chamber that he's building here. So a decent setup that we have for Su. But Life currently doesn't really commit too much.
Yeah. He's adding 3 more drones right now, getting additional extractors. Does not look like he's going to be aggressive here. He starts a 3rd hatchery, so you can kind of see he's going to use his link speed to control the map while he gets that hatchery up. Continue to scout like he's doing right now. And he sees the wall, he sees the Roach Warren and the Evolution Chamber. So Life has some really good information. And also, looks like he's going to supply block Su here even further.
Nope.
Oh, barely not. 4 hit points left.
That's unlucky. If you set a queen on an overlord, you really want to take it down, because that queen has now to waddle all the way back to the main base, and that's really just so annoying. Queens being so slow off creep. What Life is currently doing is take his third base a lot faster than Su does. But what we saw the SK Telecom Zerg player do is skip the gas for speed completely and just go straight into roaches. And that gives him a little bit of lead, especially with the +1 attack upgrade that he already started.
Yeah.
So Life has to be quite careful. This is one of those builds that Zerg do a lot these days, trying to skip the speed and going straight into the roaches for timing.
Exactly. Life is definitely going for more late game oriented build here. He's starting double upgrades, you know. That's obviously much much more late game oriented than just one upgrade. 5 roaches already on the way for Su. He's getting roach speed. He's going to try to kill the third base. And look at this, Life actually gets to see everything, including the lair timing here, the gases. And he knows there's no third base. He can see that with his Overlord and his early right now. So Life knows all he needs to do right now is get ready to defend a big push, because if he can defend that, he'll have the much better economy, he has the much better upgrades. He knows there's only one evolution chamber for Su, and he has 2.
Life has to play passive, especially since he has the third base already, so he cannot hope to overpower his opponent just now. If he gets a few additional spine crawlers into the game, that would help him quite a lot. The problem for him really being that he has to defend 2 focus points. He has to defend his third and also the natural. But if he makes that happen, if he gets the 1-1 upgrades out just in time to defend against his attack, then he has a really good spot here. Zergling on bias could help him a little bit. Doesn't really get too many. In a straight up fight, the Zerglings don't help you too much, so that's one of the reasons why he isn't going for it. But Life does not see the roaches. He should know though, because he sees that there is no third base.
Yeah. And Su, he's getting ready here to move out. He's also spreading his creep forward as fast as he can here with these overlords, also bringing the queens very aggressively here. Life has his bases connected with creep. He's a bit ways away with 1-1 and the roach speed, but if he can buy himself a little bit of time, I mean, there's no real way for him to buy time, but if he can hold out a little bit longer, he will have all those upgrades.
Yeah, the problem really is Su kind of already missed his timing if you think about when the +1 attack upgrade completed, but what he doesn't know is that the 1-1 is still a little bit ahead, a little bit away. So he can actually take this. He could actually make this happen. And on the other hand, Life, if he postures around a little bit more, gets a few more roaches into the game, then he might be able to just make this work. He's taking down his own creep tumors now.
Yeah, and you know, he's got 10 seconds left on those upgrades, and here we go. Su goes for the engage. He has the upgrade advantage, but not anymore. Life pushes through. Does he have enough? Not enough roaches just yet. Needs reinforcements. 11 on the way.
1-1 is done, but so many queens, and oh my god, the sheer amount of roaches that Su is currently throwing against Life. It doesn't look like the Startail player will be able to make this happen. He's rallying reinforcements out as best as he can and trying to actually also pull his drones here. If he can hold, that might give him the position that he needs, but he's already losing harvesters. He still has the inferior roach production. He's trying though, and he might just be able to throw this back. All the queens for Su on the other hand, with one transducer after another, really supporting these roaches, but I feel that Life might have it.
He may have it here. The queens doing their best. Life trying to push this back, and Su looks like he finally will be pushed back. Life will hold here.
Life holds, and it looks like he might also be able to stabilize. He lost a lot of harvesters here. He lost nearly 20 of them, but immediately he reproduces his drones, and that brings him into a position where he still is saturating 3 bases. So Life with a clutch hold against Su, and it looks like the SK Telecom 1 player is in trouble, and
He's in a lot of trouble, man. He doesn't have a third base. He just now starts it. He desperately starts +2 attack as well. Life managing his drones and his roaches very efficiently right now. He has that third hatchery. There's no macro hatch for Su. He's on 2 hatch versus 3, and that's always going to be a problem. Even though we saw right after that fight, Life pushed it back and Su is still up about 15 supply, Life has already closed that gap.
Usually when you see a player really pulling his drones, you already know that he will most likely lose that game. There are very few occasions where a player is really able to hold with SCVs or with drones, and in this particular scenario, Life was able to make it happen because he had a little bit of a buffer here. He had those drones at the front, they were tanking a lot of shots from those roaches, and that gave Life the time that he needed to get his own reinforcements into business. So really well played here by Life. But what he's doing right now is actually not investing into the 2-2. Instead, he's just going for even more units. I feel he wants to overwhelm his opponent here. I was a little bit afraid there might be a second attack. He delays his upgrades quite significantly and just now started the +2 attack upgrade.
I like how Life's constantly threatening with this one roach at the hatchery, making sure it's not being cancelled, first of all, that Su might go for a second wave of attacks, but also just making sure that Su has to pay attention to this roach. He doesn't want to lose a third of his hatchery hit points to one roach slowly working away at it.
What I really would like to know is, why did he attack his own creep tumors earlier? Did he really just try to slow down the approach?
You know, it made it so that the roaches couldn't go to his natural a little bit faster, but the creep hadn't even really fully receded. That would be like a really good question to ask Life. I feel like that's definitely the idea here, but was it worth it at the end of the day? He needs to rebuild those now.
I don't think it really was a misclick. Like, he killed not only one, but he killed like 2 or 3, so that must have been on purpose. And the only reason that I can come up with is that he really tried to just shut the creep down so that he buys himself a little bit more time, that the creep recedes and the roaches move a little bit slower. So maybe for the reinforcements. So
Yeah, I think that's probably why it really seems to be the case. Let's not forget, of course, that Life does have +1 Carapace. That's something that Sue does not have. He will have +2, which kind of evens out a little bit until Life gets that own +2 for himself. He also has the Infestation Pit, which is going to allow him to add Infestors into the mix.
yeah, that definitely is going to help him quite a bit, having the additional tech out there. And of course, by now he also has the additional Harvesters. If you look at the overall supply, then yeah, Sue is still a little bit ahead of his opponent since he has the superior Roach numbers. But Life could really start to utilize the second Evolution Chamber a little bit better.
Yeah, he definitely could. He has the resources to do so. He's just a little bit concerned, I feel, about possible attack from Sue. He knows that he's ahead economically. He's been ahead for a while, and all he needs to do is get these Infestors out, hold on a little bit longer. Carapace started for Sue, and those 3 Infestors they're about to pop, but they do not have Pathogen Glands. He's not even started the upgrade because he knows he doesn't have enough resources to do all these things at once.
With the 3-base economy that he has, he can accomplish quite a bit, but against the numbers that we have for Sue in the game, he needs, of course, to make sure that he has his own army up to par. And here we move in right now. Those Fungals are the best weapon of Life right now. He can force an engagement, and he can also start to take away the hit points of those so many Roaches. Both of them are about to be maxed out. The better bank for Sue, the +2 attack upgrade just started for Life, but when armor is done, then they will be on even upgrades.
Sue just 8 army supply up, not very significant here. The better position for Life. He has the Concave, he has the Infestors, and Sue is on the run. He does not want to get fungled. One fungal does trap a lot of the Roaches, though. Life in full retreat, on the other hand.
Yeah, Life retreats for now. He's trying to force the next engagement. That fungal already scared Sue a little bit. He's in a position where he knows that there is additional tech out for his opponent. Life is in a position where the time works in his favor. And here comes Sue. He knows that he has to go in. He wanted to wait for the upgrade. And here come those fungals.
Beautiful
hitting
fungals.
immediately.
Oh
and
my
immediately
God.
the Roach is closing the distance, going to town. And both of them dropping in supply. But we have still such a massive bank for Sue.
And Sue's +1 Carapace is not done. Life having the much better upgrades here, but he's dropping in supply like crazy. Both of them 20 Roaches in production. The Infestors at the back, out of energy, not able to help. Sue may be able to break through here. It's going to be very close. His Queens, his Transfusers really, really helping him here.
Life is already moving to the bottom right. He's trying to catch reinforcements and trying just to delay the inevitable attack of his opponent. He's down in supply. The Queens are finally taken out by the reinforcements. Life is trying to put his opponent between a hammer and a hard place. This is really, really clutch, especially now since we have even upgrades for both of them.
Yeah, and you know, those Infestors that Life have are still the only real card he has in his hand right now, with Sue having a massive lead in army, and also his economy is seeming a little bit more stable right now. Life still has the Infestors alive. They are building energy, but Life's also going to lose this huge chunk of his army here.
It's quite incredible that Sue is actually able to get in such a dominant position now, considering how much he lost in the beginning, and that his opponent was already on 3 bases. Now he's moving across the map again. He wants to finish the job, and he is 50 supply ahead of his opponent. That +2 attack upgrade should not be done in time.
Yeah.
The Infestors are the only thing that Life really has. He's down 20, 30 Roaches.
Good fungals so far, but are these 4 Infestors really going to turn the tide? He gets another good fungal, but the Concave much better for Sue. He just has too much counter.
It's way too much, and he is completely overwhelmed here. Sue is moving in, and Life, he looked like he would be in such a great position being on 3 bases against 2, especially after he got his saturation up again. But now the Infestors, they are dying. The drones come off the mineral line, and this time it's desperation. It doesn't look like Life will be able to take game number 1. Sue stomps the StarTale player here.
He stomps him down here. Life obviously having some trouble recently in the ZVZ matchup. Bomber said so as well. Now Life down 100% supply. GG.
GG and game. Sue takes the initial victory here in Group B of the up and downs today.
Really great play from Sue. You know, there were a lot of times in that game where I thought Sue was just not going to be able to make his attacks work. Somehow, some way, he was able to engage really, really well. Even with the Infestors of Life, he built a better bank as well, and that really helped him to keep pushing the Roaches forward.
Yeah, Life actually... I'm really interested to why... you know, one of the things that definitely happened in this game was those Infestors didn't really do a lot for him.
Yeah.
If he would have transitioned into Hydras, I think he would have had a much better position against Sue here. He got a couple of fungals off, but in total, he maybe dropped 6 fungals. I don't think that we saw more than 6, and those 6 didn't really force anything. The first initial 2, they were negated immediately by the Roach regeneration, and he didn't even force a fight. Then the final battle, he had 2, but if you consider how many resources he actually drop into the tech and then into the infestors alone, then I feel Hydras would have been a much better choice here.
You know, one thing I want to say about Su in that map is I felt like he just had more confidence with his army. And he knew he had to be aggressive a lot of the time. But some of those fungals you talked about with Life, he didn't capitalize on them very well. He was a little bit nervous about how to engage it. And you have to respect that because he's facing a 200-200 army of roaches. But Su just more confident with his army, and I think that led to some of the engagements he won.
He just overwhelmed them with the numbers. He had in the end 30 additional roaches, and he put them to good use.
Yeah.
There was just an endless flood of roaches streaming across the map, and most of them were Su's. So in this particular scenario, Live trying and trying hard, but game number 1 goes to the SK Telecom T1 Zerg player.
Yeah,
and
now
moving
on to game number 2, we've got Bang up against Hero
on Guangali Beach.
This is a pretty fun map for this matchup because a lot of the time you see proxies, whether it's proxy oracles, proxy barracks, proxy reaper, and the game doesn't usually go too long on this map because there's not a lot of free bases to take. It's a relatively small map, and one of our maps, of course, that's going to be eliminated next season. But it was definitely kind of a funny map to play around with. And Bang, definitely the underdog, I would say. Would you agree here? I mean, I think Hero is definitely the favorite in this particular match.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, Bang is a player who can take a game like this. He mastered the skill of pulling SCVs to an incredible extent. But, yeah, jokes aside, Hero is just a very accomplished player, has a lot of experience, is very, very strong. So I would definitely say that from an objective perspective, Hero is definitely the favorite here. But Bang, on the other hand, he can cause an upset.
Yeah, he certainly can. He has good multitasking. I feel like he's kind of, I want to compare him to Dream, the MVP Dream as a Terran player. He's not quite on the level of Dream's multitasking in the late game, but during the early game, the first few drops he sends out, the micro he's shown with some of his Mirage, his Marines, seems to be really, really quite strong and something that you would have to worry about, you have to be careful about. And one thing I want to say about Hero is I feel like he doesn't really have a style, and that's kind of hard to prepare for. He's not known for always playing macro games or always being aggressive. He's just kind of a medium all-around Protoss.
I think that this Hero is very much stronger than Bang. It's also about experience. Like, how many times have we seen Bang in a booth?
Not very many.
And Hero, he has played in Pro League, he has played in the OSL, he played, of course, in our studio too. So he has a lot of experience here. He has a lot of experience in the matchup. I just think that is the biggest problem that Bang has. On the other hand, Bang has a really nice background with the MVP team being one of the teams that always finds new talents and brings them out there. And Bang was also one of the winners of the seed in the tournament in the last season. So to take that tournament, that takes quite a lot of skill.
Yeah.
Therefore, he can cause the upset, but in order to achieve that, I feel he has to be in tip-top shape today and also be able to really calm himself down and not to get too anxious.
Bang is most known for his online performances. And one thing that, you know, we always differ between offline performances and online performances, but in this particular case, in a group of this many players, sometimes being able to just sit down and crank out a bunch of games like you do in an online tournament can give you some sort of advantage over players who are not used to doing that, like Hero, who mostly plays in Pro League and, of course, in individual leagues like this. So, you know, he could have a slight advantage being able to just sit down and play a bunch of different matchups in a group, whereas, you know, somebody like Hero who plays in individual leagues or Pro League is usually more specific towards one matchup, preparing for one match at a time.
I feel that ladder practice in general is just something that prepares you quite well for these scenarios.
Yeah.
So we're going into the game already. We have our second best of one of the day. Guangali Beach is the map. And we have, of course, Hero versus Bang, therefore a Protoss versus Terran is up next. And the third game of the day is then going to be Life versus Björn. So we will have two of the ESF players going up against each other. That will, of course, for Life then be the second game that he plays today, whereas Björn, on the other hand, plays his first map. So jumping into Guangali Beach in just a second.
Yeah, it's loading. There we go. I think we got it. There we go, we're in.
Okay, so the game has just started. Let's see what Hero can do against Bang, or the other way around. Will the MVP player be able to cause a little bit of an upset, or is Hero taking his favorite? Yeah, is the favorite. He is the favorite, and he might be able to take that.